main thing I'm going to cover in today's demo, just really briefly, is going to be tipping, how the tips go through the P3H. They'll go through the P3 mix in a little bit of a different way, a little more customer interaction with the larger screen on the mix. But for now here, let me just remote into my terminal so I can show you a transaction, how the tip appears inside of the Stackably reporting. And some of this came from agent feedback, right? So we were working with some agents, their merchants are tipping. They wanted us to print a tip report from the terminal. And so I wanted to cover like how much more robust our tip reporting is than any other terminal if you're using just a standalone terminal. So I'm going to go ahead and run through a transaction here on my payment stack. And so I have my terminal here. Whenever the employee signs in, we're going to use the employee's login code, and we're going to be able to keep track of which employees are ringing up which orders on the terminal. And that way we can properly allot tips to servers, stylists, anything like that, whichever employees should be getting tipped on those transactions. So from here, I'm just going to run a quick sale. I'll throw in a quick sale for $25, for example, hit confirm. That's going to take me to my payment screen here. From here, I can simply just select the tips button right there, the orange button right below the numbers. I can add a custom amount, or I can just simply select a percentage. In this case, I'll just tip $5 here for this transaction. I'll hit add tip. That's going to add it to my total. I'm going to select cash and hit done. So that completes the transaction from the Sumi terminal. We'll go no on the receipt. And now I'm going to go ahead and open up Stackably. And from here, I'm actually underneath of my shop reporting. So I'm under my orders reports. And you'll now see a section here called tip management. So as soon as I ran that transaction, you can see we tracked the order. It immediately shows up in your orders log. I can see the $25 transaction that Gabe just ran. I can go to my tip management report from here. And this is going to give me a breakdown based on selected date ranges. I can run these all time, but let's say I was just trying to run a tip report for today's transactions. So I'm just going to run just today's orders. I can now see that Gabe has two orders that had tips on them. It gives me tip totals for each server. So I can immediately see a breakdown of who was logged into the device, who took that transaction, how was that tip added to their totals, right? So that in itself is a further breakdown than you're going to get from other tipping options that you would have on standalone terminals. We are breaking those down by server, by employee, by stylist, however you're going to do that. And if I wanted to drill it down and just show me Gabe's, I can just pull his tip report really quickly, or I can run it against all employees. So that's one of the options that you have there to see those card transaction tips. But the other thing that I can do is I can also include cash tips. So let's say you're doing tip polling at your business and all of your tips go into a poll, and we're going to divide those tips up by the hours that your staff works versus how much did each individual employee get, because I may be sharing these with other employees that aren't servers or something that is directly responsible for getting the tip and adding the transaction. I can go underneath of my tip management here for today, and I can run my tip calculator. So I'll select the tip calculator. This is going to pull up the employees that had tips listed or the employees that I had on the report. And from here, I can say, cash is not already distributed. I'm going to turn that off. And I'm going to say, let's say I got $200 in cash tips. And I'm going to go ahead and run this report, and I'm going to split this by the hours that each employee has worked for the day. So now I can come down here and see if I was splitting this evenly and there's no hours, each employee would be getting $77.58, including the card and cash tips together. But then let's say Gabe worked 10 hours, Andrea worked 8 hours, and Mandy worked 6 hours. Then this is going to give me an exact breakdown of how much each employee would be earning in their tips based on the number of hours that they had worked from that day from the tip pool. So this is really, really nice if you're trying to include other people into these tip pools, or just have a quick way of running a report and putting all of your tips together and then dividing them up between your staff. And so this is not available on the P3H. There's no way that a P3H could put together this type of reporting and print this out. I can print it right from here. I do this from the web version when I log into my Stackably account. And again, this is why it's so important for us to get your companies into Stackably so they can start to use some of these other functionalities that the software has to offer. I can select print report, and right here, I can just print this out. This is going to show me a breakdown by each employee. It's going to show me the tip pool, the totals, and all of that stuff for the tips for that specific day. Again, I can run that off of date ranges. I can run it for a week. I can do it however I wanted to do it for my business. So you get a ton of filters and functionality behind the tipping report that's inside of Stackably.